How is Bonnaroo? How do you manage to go from like CMA Fest to Bonnaroo? I've never had any energy left for it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that they're on separate weeks now. They used to be the same week.
Oh, that's right.
So when my first album came out, I did CMA Fest at the Riverfront stage, and then the next day, like, hauled butt to Bonnaroo. So I was running on fumes. But now that it's separate weeks, I feel like I can manage it.
It's a little bit easier. I mean, if you can find the recovery time, I feel like we're still working to get past CMA Fest at this point.
Yeah, and plus, it rained every day. So
There's something sexy about that. TJ always says
I like concerts in the rain.
Yeah. If it's not like scary rain, it can be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a 0 F's given once it starts raining. You're just like, forget it, we're wet, let's just have more fun.
Woodstock.
Sliding in the mud.
Yeah.
While we're talking sexy, first of all,
Transition while we're talking about sexy.
Wow, you know where this
segue.
is. Yeah, well, you know where this is going. I mean, everybody's talking about Maren being in this Playboy interview and all the photos you've been posting and stuff. I always like, anytime I see you pop up, there's certain people that I just double tap immediately because I feel like I want to support and hit like on anything. So anything TJ posts, anything Chuck posts, anything Maren posts, I hit like. Okay. And then I realized after I hit like that it shows in your feed sometimes it'll be like Ty liked photo. And it was the first batch of photos that you had shared about the Playboy thing. And then I was like, would my wife care if she notices that? And I was like, no, I don't think so. And I just love the way you've handled this whole thing. It's just badass. The way that you're like, guys, I am who I am. I'm doing what I do. And there's people that'll shame you no matter what you do, by the way. Yeah. Overall, would you say the response has been positive though?
Oh yeah. I was just, talking to Kix about this. I was like, you really can't win. I mean, you could tweet, I love apples. And someone would be like, F you, apples are awful. At this point, I'm just like,
forever.
Yeah, you're totally not a banana girl. Yeah, so I've learned you can't really win, and I'm just gonna do what I believe in and do me. So I feel like, and also I look at people like Dolly Parton who did the cover of Playboy back in the 70s. So that was sort of my guiding light when I was deciding whether or not to do the shoot.
Is it frustrating to have to always talk about it? Like, do you hate now coming in the interviews, or are you like, oh man, this is like the full focus right now is this interview?
No, I mean, I kind of knew when I did it that it was going to be a little, incendiary, but I didn't really expect people to have such insane rage over it. And I think
they did.
That was the unforeseen part. It was like people coming after like Ryan, and people on my team and people that were a part of the shoot. And I was just like, oh my God, you guys aren't even mad. Like, this is such faux rage.
Crazy.
Y'all, it must be like a slow news week because I'm literally wearing less on my women's health cover.
Right.
So there you go.
The one thing that always will get me is when somebody comes after the family, because that's, who cares? Come after me anytime you want to on Instagram.
Right.
But when you start to like go after the people I love, like we did this thing with Corey recently where she showed off of before and after pictures, postpartum. She did this like program to feel strong again. And I just couldn't believe that anybody would say negative. There was one negative, and I got so pissed at this lady. Yeah. I'm like, that's my wife. She's a good person. You don't know any of the backstory.
That's all it takes is one thing. Like you can get 100 things, and if one of them's negative, that's kind of like we're natural to hang on to that.
Zero in on it. Yeah.
But what we love, TJ and I went through and looked at your socials this week earlier. Remember what was the thing about? Was it about her hair or something? Remember when somebody like said something about Maren's hair? Just the way that you handle yourself is so funny.
Like, I don't remember what you said when you clapped back at one of the trolls.
Like,
and you're
love
just
my
like,
hair.
Really? You're like, can you just embrace her? Or I don't know. She said something about a Kardashian. She's like, oh, are you starting to look like a Kardashian or something like that? And your response to her was amazing.
Oh,
and I was like, I love that you just respond to them. Like, what are you doing? Move on with life. So dumb.
Yeah, I just try to like not focus on it. And I think that like I did those photos for me. And they're honestly like, not to be weird, but I was just like, while I look like this, like I work out, while I look like this, I want to have like pretty photos of it. So yeah, it is what it is. But
girl, you blow those up to like poster size and hang those
I'm
all
sure
over your
Ryan
house
would like
because they are amazing.
Just cardboard cutouts around the house, and Ryan was like, hi, honey.
Yeah. No, I kind of just like, I guess I'll, for the first time, go out and buy Playboy. Because I want to have some like hard copies of it. But no, I'm really proud of what we did. I love that like it was all women that were on the shoot, so I felt like super safe. And they're not nude, so everyone chill the F out.
Yeah, it's just I think it's like the old connotations or whatever. What was for you? What was it going into the shoot that you really wanted to? Because you probably saw some of this coming. What did you do it for? Like, was it really just to have the pictures, or was it because you wanted to make a statement?
I did it because they offered it to me. Like, they're a quarterly magazine now, not monthly, and so they've just really become, I think, a much more respectable publication. And they said that we're doing our gender and sexuality issue because of your album Girl and your song and your video. Like, I think that you would have such a great take on this issue. And so I did the interview and then I did the photos after. And I think, like, with the aesthetic of the vibe of the shoot, we wanted to not make it trashy or anything. We wanted to make it really like 70s, 80s country. So the photos are really kind of vintage looking, and I'm wearing like Stetson, and it's
cool.
Very throwback. And so I love that it was like my take on country music, my take on these country sort of esque outfits. And so I just love that it was like, you know what? No one since Dolly's done Playboy. I think I'm going to be the next one in line.
I thought it was cool. You are the first Playboy article I've read. Like, I read seriously,
honesty.
I read it this morning. I was like,
That's
oh my God,
amazing.
I'm actually reading the articles.
What'd you think?
It was awesome. I thought you were very honest with everybody. And I loved how you
It was
liked
a fun conversation.
Yeah, you could feel like it was refreshing for you to have that type of interview, because Playboy you can be a little more edgier with your answers
Right.
rather than boxed in sometimes.
Yeah, it was sort of like how I would speak to my friends.
Yeah.
You know, I loved that I could just really open up and, you know, be frank. And so I thought it was, and it fit the issue so well, because it was like, you know, this is my take on my place in the industry right now. And, you know, not feeling pigeonholed or restricted or in a box. And so I love that the whole issue was about, you know, my version of country music as that take. And then, you know, trans and LGBTQ. And there's like a ton of different elements in that issue, which are really cool.
I love that you're outspoken about that stuff. I've had trouble since I got to the countryside trying to be honest, but also fair to the other people's opinions. I feel very strongly about the way that I feel with the LGBTQ plus community. I very much support them. I always have felt that was like a big part of my life, like my generation, is trying to find those rights that belong to people that I love. I've some of my absolute best friends. And sometimes when I speak out about that, it sets people back on their heels a little bit. And I guess since we started this show, I've been a little quieter than I want to be, because I feel like part of the voice that we have is the opportunity to make changes that we believe are positive for somebody else. You were really straightforward about stuff, and you have been repeatedly. Does Pride Month hold anything for you? Like, does this month in particular hold anything that you have like grand plans, or you just want to do something supportive and cool outside of interviews?
I mean, I remember penning this letter for Pride Month. I think it was last year for Billboard. And it was just, you know, I love that community so much. I love, like, at my shows, kind of picking out the pocket of gays that have like all the choreography to every one of my songs. It makes my heart swell, because to be like accepted by that community in my music, I feel like I owe them that too. And I think that, you know, I grew up in musical theater. Like I just never thought of that community as different from me, because I was like, I'm creative and colorful, and I just, you know, try to speak up on it so much, because I'm so privileged. Like, I have not had this hard life. Like, I am a young white woman. Like, things have been pretty okay for me. And there's so many that has not been the case. And so I feel like speaking up for them, especially in this genre, all the like little kids that are at home listening to country music and country radio, and they think they might be gay. Like, they're not hearing themselves in our platform, or people like speaking up for them. And so I want them to feel like they're at home here too. And so that's why I speak up when I do. And I'm glad that you do too.
Well, I think people find strength in other people's strength, and that's something that I want to represent more and better. And I also love in the article, can we I just want to talk straight on it. And we might end up having to put this on the podcast, but I'm definitely putting it on. But I just love, like, you were so straightforward about the stuff, the intimate stuff too, right? Where you go like, lingerie is pointless. Is lingerie? I've always said that too. I'm like, what? Don't waste $50.
No, I think it's good for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's like 2 minutes. How do you break that down in dollars? Yeah.
It's 25 a minute.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's my personal preference. No judgment to people that like to buy lingerie. I just think it's like really pointless.
Did your parents, has your family read the article and given you feedback on some of the things that were in it or no?
I sent it to them, I guess last week when they sent me the advanced copy, and they were like totally cool with it. And they know who I am. And I think at the end of the day, it's like, I'm married. Yeah. I am like in love with my partner. He like supports me to no end, my music and me as a woman. And so I just feel like if I'm going to impart any wisdom, it's, coming from that angle. And so I think it's like everyone should just chill out and have a good time.
Like you say, it comes across like you're talking to your friends because you go like, there's one thing you brought up and you go, if it's a no-go, that relationship should be a no-go.
Yeah.
Like how do you get to the point where you'll bring up something like that in a conversation with, I'm assuming people you didn't know very long, right? And it's going to be everywhere.
I know. Well, once I said it, I was like, oh my God, my publicist is going to have a conniption.
I loved you. It made me immediately feel like you were being honest.
Someone had to say it.
I was like, okay, I've been married all of like 1.5 years. I'm not trying to like act like I know everything. I'm just saying, as a serial monogamist, that is my take, is don't be with someone who's selfish in that department, because that's probably what they're like in every other realm as well.
Amen,
Preach it.
sister. Amen.
Preach it.
And then I also wanted to just kind of fire this past you and see if this is true. But it's no secret that Maren Morris has like very special music, and there's something really special about everything you've done, even all the way back to my church where people didn't know it at first and they didn't get it until all of a sudden it was this monster. But do you sometimes have to challenge yourself in ways like going to do this Playboy thing, knowing it was going to get a little bit of heat, it's going to get a lot of traction, and there would be these different questions you had to answer because you want to keep yourself super vulnerable and it's harder and harder as you reach these steps of success? Is there something about peeling away layers by doing things you'd never even imagined before?
Yeah, I think every year of my career I've done something that's scared me, from this to like doing the middle with Zed. I thought that, there's a chance that if I do this song with this EDM guy, country is going to think that I'm like leaving them behind or something. And luckily that didn't happen and that wasn't the case. And it was like a stupid fear. But no, I think that I didn't get into this to be this torchbearer for my gender or anything like that. I just think that's organically happened because there weren't enough women getting airplay on the chart. And then I think that as someone that I kind of, while I have this platform, want to speak up for, my female artist friends that that work maybe harder than I do. And don't get, an ounce of what I've received. And I don't know what it is about me that like it happened. And I can't even fathom why my songs have worked and theirs maybe haven't. I just don't know. But I think that I just naturally have fallen into this role where it's like, you know what? This is really pissing me off. And I want it to be more equal. And I want everyone to like get their fair share because everyone is so effing talented and inspires me. And so I bring out girls on my tour. I'm going out with Miranda in the fall. I just love this sort of camaraderie that's happening because I hate at award shows like when like the dudes are all in a category and one of them wins and the rest of them loses. They're still like cheering for each other and like patting each other on the back. Like I love that they can do that, but I hate that like when we lose or something, it's like, loser cam.
Oh no! Gosh, you got to respond.
Yeah. It's like it's making us pit against each other, if that makes sense. And I kind of want to just blow that whole concept to pieces because I actually love all these women and we are friends. And I hate that like it sometimes feels like there's so few slots that we have to like turn on each other. And I'm trying to like even that scale.
Well, I love you mentioned this in the Women Want to Hear Women podcast with Elena last year, probably, I guess you did it. But I remember you saying how important that moment with Karen Fairchild at the CMT Artist of the Year special was when it was, I remember it was all women last year.
Yeah.
And Karen took the time to shout out women in the industry that deserve to at least get your attention for a second. And it was something that kind of inspired us to do it here on the show. We do Undeniable Artists, and we've been bringing in Kaylee Hammack and Abby Anderson and Cassie Ashton and just these people that we think people will love. So let's just play their music on the show and share it so that somebody can discover them and decide for themselves from there.
That's amazing. I love that you guys do that. And I'm bringing Cassie out for a few dates when I...
So cool.
Yeah, she's awesome. I just think those opportunities that you're giving those new women, and then also like bringing them out on tour and showing your audience what they are capable of in a live setting is like the only way to really get their message out there, because there's so many fans that could be made. And so I just try to like pay it forward now, because so many people like Keith Urban and Sam Hunt and Karen Fairchild and Kimberly Schlappman have given me that opportunity.
And I thought maybe before we play Girl, maybe you don't have names on top of your head, but we should do it again. Like just mention people. Cassie's been mentioned now. A couple of people.
Haley Witters is another incredible talent. And I don't think she's
out on
signed.
tour with you a a little bit, right?
She's coming out with me as well with Cassie.
Nice.
Obviously, like Tennille Townes is such a badass. Lauren Elena, Raylan, Cassidy Pope. I mean, there's so many. Kelsey obviously is killing it. Doesn't need a plug. She's okay.
You guys heard of Dolly?
Yeah, Dolly. Yeah. No, there's so many, and I'm super inspired as an artist by all this new blood, and I'm a fan of like, it's not just about women, like it's about everybody. Like I'm a huge Luke Combs fan. I love the artist Hardy. Michael Hardy. Like he can't write a bad song. Like everything's a hit. So I'm just excited for all this like this new class of artists, men and women, coming in, because it's making us all up our game.
One of the other ones we brought in was King Calloway. What do you think? Have you gotten a chance to see them live yet?
No, but they covered. They mashed up a song of Dan and Shay's and mine
just this
with
week,
Girl.
I think, right?
Yeah, and it was dope.
They're amazing. Yeah, they're super cool.